This is Inside the Right. Tim, this is something that we've been looking forward to for a long time, so I'm really excited to talk to you about this today. But you've been on the road for the last few days, actually bringing what you guys do at the Bulwark, bringing this perspective from Republicans, former Republicans, independents, onto the road to meet independent voters, to meet swing voters out there in some battleground states. So can you talk about what you learned this week?
Yeah, absolutely. We had three Bulwark events in Philly and Pittsburgh and Detroit, and it was tied to the Republican Voters Against Trump bus tour that was going across the two states between Pennsylvania and Michigan. And I got to tell you, it's just good to be out there and good to kind of get a sense for, what's happening on the ground and like why the campaign is focused on this demographic. And I just think the reality is that we have seen a movement towards Vice President Harris among these kind of former disaffected Republican types. We saw it at all of the events that we held, which all like sold out in 2 seconds, and we had to have bonus, kind of grassroots events that we added on around it, like where we could go out and meet people and have conversations with them, kind of hear about the outreach they're doing on the ground in their community, speaking to family members that are maybe still on the fence, and you do get this. People ask me all the time, are there still people on the fence? And like the answer is yes. Like I was talking to people in both states who are with types of people that show up to this event have already decided that they're a Republican voter against Trump for the most part. So they were people that were with Kamala, but their networks, their friend groups, right, all include, people like them, people that had been Republicans that maybe don't like Trump that much, that are on the fence. And so I had a lot of conversations with them. I'm going to be writing something later this week to kind of have them, they can email those friends. It makes the case to them directly. But you can sense, that there is real potential ground to be tilled here for the Harris campaign. The Harris campaign knows it. And it's pretty funny to be on a bus that's wrapped in Republican voters against Trump. We noticed on the road, Brian, that one long honk was usually a negative, kind of like
Yeah.
and that was often met with a bird. But then like a lot of beeps, beep, beep, beep was with thumbs up was a positive. So we got a nice mix of both.
Crash course in honking etiquette there.
Yeah.
But luckily it seemed to go a little bit better than, what was it, Joe Biden's tour bus in 2020 down in Texas, which I think.
Oh yeah, they ran him off the road.
That's right. Yeah. So always good when you guys are able to stay on the road there. Tim, was there anything that was especially telling? Was there any moment while you were there that was especially telling about what the environment looks like out in either PA or Michigan?
Yeah, I think things feel really good on the ground in Michigan. I mean, obviously, I think PA might be the tipping point state, so we can talk about that a little bit more. But in Michigan, we had this Detroit event, and like I said, and it sold out in 2 minutes. So we had to add a separate kind of just grassroots event where people could come out, we could meet them. The Republicans for Harris, like the official campaign operation, then kind of came to that since it's like an open event. So I got to talk to a lot of like the organizers that are on the ground, and there are people that are there in Michigan doing the work. And then I interviewed Mallory McMorrow, the Democratic state senator who had flipped a Republican seat. So like she's very kind of like her district encompasses, a lot of these suburban, exurban Republicans. So I think she has a lot of experience. And honestly, the conversations among those groups were very positive. I mean, look, everybody's going to do hard work, 2 weeks left, continuing to push, but speaking to those, back in the old days, they called them Reagan Democrats, like that from Macomb County. And that's like the classic area of swing voter there in kind of this area between Detroit and Ann Arbor. And the anecdotal feeling and the data really is they're looking at like who's showing up to vote early there, and when you're going to doors of people that they've identified as being maybe iffy, kind of the feedback that they're getting on those doors, I do think things are looking very good in Michigan, and Mallory McMorrow is great, and I think had a very positive just both personal experience and vibe as far as like getting people in that state excited, to vote for Kamala Harris, including a bunch of former Republicans. And there's a strong Senate candidate in that state that like very much appeals to these Nikki Haley, Bulwark type voters, and Alyssa Slotkin, who's like a strong national security Democrat. Right. So I think the vibes are good in Michigan. And in PA, look, it's close. And I met with the people with Governor Shapiro's team, and I think everybody says the same thing, that it's looking like it's going to be a very close race in Pennsylvania. It's an important place, and that's why we did 2 events there. That's why my colleague Sarah Longwell is there again today with Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about exactly that because look, It's not often that Kamala Harris is going to bring like a special guest with her on the campaign trail. Obviously, somebody that she's going to do that with is going to have outsized importance. And so, can you talk about her decision to basically start doing events here with Liz Cheney, what that signifies, and the power that Liz Cheney is able to kind of use in order to sway some of these disaffected Republicans?
Well, I think it signifies number one that the Harris campaign recognizes the importance of this demographic, and
right. I mean, this is I would presume that like this is the demographic, right? These are the people who are really up for grabs.
Yeah, yeah. If you listen, David Plouffe did an interview with my old colleague at the Circus, John Heilman, and he says their data shows basically 4% of the electorate is undecided, and some of these people, there's some percentage of that that's like kind of the younger black and brown men that we've been talking about, like not that are a little bit on the fence, that have been traditionally Democrats. Maybe they appeal more to the Elon Rogan thing. That's a smaller group. But then the bigger group is this disaffected former Republican Nikki Haley type, and so the campaign recognizes that, as Plouffe has said, and Kamala Harris is doing well with them, and she continues to grow her vote share among Nikki Haley voters, and so I think that explains why she's out there today. On Monday, she's doing 3 stops, one in Chester County, Pennsylvania, that was moderated by my Bulwark colleague Sarah Longwell. Then she goes on to Michigan, then to Wisconsin. My former colleague Charlie Sykes is moderating that one. He was a former conservative talk radio host in the state, and so I think it shows how they recognize the significance of that demo. The other thing I would just say, having watched now the event with Cheney and Longwell and Harris in Pennsylvania, the vice president's very comfortable in this group. And the thing that she does that I think is the most impressive, and I think it's helped her a lot as far as gaining from where Biden was, is she can talk about the progressive issues that she cares about, right? At this event, she still talked about how we need home health care for seniors and reproductive rights and health care, you know what I mean? Like health care, a lot of these traditional progressive issues. But on a values level, on themes, talking about how America needs to play a strong role in the world, and how the government should be efficient, and how she wants to work in a bipartisan manner to get things done. She's very comfortable in that environment. Like you could tell when people are faking that, and she's very much not. And I think that having this event with kind of with undecided voters in Pennsylvania today, mostly something that I observed just anecdotally, seemed to be mostly kind of older women. It's like they're they want to squeeze every last drop out of that. Back in 2004, we called them the security moms. They were moms for John Kerry, and those security moms are mostly grandmas now. And they had been Republicans for Bush, and I think that because of Dobbs and because of January 6th, like they've been moving more and more to the Democratic side, and I just think that Kamala Harris wants to make sure she gets every single one of those like votes, and I think that's a good kind of target demo for her to kind of squeeze out a couple more votes as we're looking at a really close race.
I think security mom sounds like boomer for Karens.
Yeah. They were Karens, we didn't have that term yet of Karens,
right.
But they were Karens in 2004, and now they're moving into their golden years, and they're like, what the hell? This is not the people that I voted for.
Now they have to be Karens for America. Tim, critics will look at Liz Cheney going on the campaign trail with Kamala and say and basically say, look, she didn't even have enough of a constituency to stay in the House. How is her being on the campaign trail with Kamala going to confer some huge benefit to the Harris campaign? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, there are 2 things I'd say. To that criticism, I would say, and even in Wyoming, which is very red compared to like the types of Republicans you're trying to get in the Detroit suburbs or the Milwaukee suburbs or the Philly suburbs, the Wyoming, like there isn't, the Cheyenne suburbs, like,
not exactly not exactly a West Hollywood, not exactly the West Hollywood of Wyoming, right?
Yeah, exactly. A very different crowd there. So the fact that Liz Cheney got, I don't have the number off the top of my head, was 20+% in that group in Wyoming, it's still like, that's a win. That's a winner. Like if Kamala gets 20% of the Republicans in Pennsylvania, she's the next president, and we can all like send Donald Trump back to the Cougar Den at Mar-a-Lago, or maybe even to jail. Who knows?
Maybe we're looking at our next fry chef out in McDonald's in Florida.
God willing. So So yes, that makes sense. Like if she can, as many of those voters she can pull over, huge plus for Kamala. And then the other thing I just want to observe today, there is another criticism which you didn't ask, but I'm going to ask it and knock it down myself, which is progressive folks are like, should she be campaigning with Liz? Like people don't like a lot of the Republican like conservative policies that Liz has pushed. On stage today, like Liz almost sounded like Kamala is kind of bringing out Liz's inner liberal in a lot of ways. Like Liz was talking about abortion rights and reproductive rights and how terrible the Texas law was, even for somebody that's pro-life like her. And so I just, again, like I said, to me, Kamala seems to be really on from an issue standpoint, talking about all of the issues that she was already talking about, but she's really appealing to this demo just thematically and through a commitment to rule of law and the Constitution and character. And so it's not like she's sacrificing anything, on her left flank to kind of bring these people in. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think what's important too, in terms of like what's happening more broadly from a 30,000-foot view, is having these people who are longtime, lifelong Republicans. I mean, Liz Cheney was one of the most conservative members of Congress that I could remember. Having these people who then see an opening with Democratic politicians like Kamala Harris, that will bring a whole swath of people, like kind of as a gateway into what is okay about Democratic politics. It's not going to be, look, I don't expect Liz Cheney to be advocating for like gender neutral bathrooms anytime soon, but like, at the same time, like making sure that we are starting this conversation and allowing this broad swath of security moms or just Reagan Republicans, disaffected Republicans, independents into our coalition. Like this can't just be a one-time thing. We're trying to basically build power and not just hoping to do a one-off win in this election, but having the Liz Cheneys of the world and a lot of these other, you've spoken on the Bulwark with a lot of Sarah Matthews, I think was your most recent interview on the Bulwark just a few days ago. Having these people basically start the conversation with Democrats like Kamala Harris will give a permission structure for a lot of these Republican voters out there to know that it is okay to like kind of like as a gateway to it is okay to vote for Democrats, and the policies that Democrats espouse are not going to lead to the end of the world. And in fact, a lot of these policies are exactly in line with what these longtime Republicans have been advocating for, especially in terms of freedom, bodily autonomy, and on and on.
Yeah, I do think, now we're getting really into kind of hope Shangri-La territory, but we're all tribal creatures, right? Yeah. Like, and we all have certain issues that we're really passionate about, and then other issues that like we end up kind of like tending to go along with whatever the people in our tribe say, right? Like people that are like, we can't all be experts on everything, and so we have a few things that we're passionate about, and then on the other issues, it's like, oh, whatever. If Republicans say it should be this, then that's what I'm for, right?
Right.
And so when you break that, like if Kamala and Liz Cheney being together can get some people to break out of that mindset, it does, create an openness to rethinking certain issues and being more open to like the progressive point of view on certain issues. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to flip and be Elizabeth Warren the next day, right, or whatever. But like I do think that it creates more space also for advancing the ideological objective as well. And anyway, I think it's a plus both politically, and for the broader ideological project.
Well, again, look, all of that underscores the importance of the work that you guys are doing over at the Bulwark, because having, these former Republicans and independents speaking to Republican voters out there, disaffected Republicans, independents, gives them a permission structure to know that it is okay just because they voted for Republicans in the past, that there is a community. I mean, you want to talk about tribalism. There is a community of people who recognize that you don't just have to pull the lever for Donald Trump because you've done so in the past, and that there are other people out there who recognize the importance of electing Kamala Harris, even despite longstanding party identity. So for those watching right now, to help elevate this content and make sure that other people who might be more inclined to vote for Republicans can see this kind of stuff and have it impact them in the way that it's impacted so many people who've watched their videos before, please make sure to subscribe. We'll put the links to the Bulwark right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.